Welcome to today's video on section 5.2, the second day. Today we're going to talk about the sum and difference formulas again, but this time for the tangent function. And there are two of them, the sum formula and the difference formula. And notice they're all similar. The top part, tangent x plus tangent y, is the same sign as what if you're adding, it's plus, and then the bottom is the opposite. For this one, notice you're subtracting, it's a minus, and then the bottom is the opposite. So the first question we'll talk about is when it asks you to find the tangent of two angles added together. Tangent pi over 6 plus tangent pi over 4. You'll put that in the sum formula. So you'll have tangent pi over 6 plus tangent pi over 4, and then 1 minus tangent pi over 6 times tangent pi over 4. Tangent pi over 6, remember you can change them to degrees if you want. Tangent pi over 6 is 30 degrees, or you can use the chart that I gave you. And 30 degrees, the tangent is the square root of 3 over 3. Tangent pi over 4 is 1. And then you have 1 minus tangent pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 3. Tangent pi over 4 is 1. So let's bring it down here. Now remember, in order to combine these, you have to get a common denominator. So here the common denominator would be the common denominator would be 3, so you multiply. So on the top, you have the square root of 3 plus 3 all over 3. And on the bottom here, if I get a common denominator, it'd be 3. So notice it'd be 3 minus the square root of 3 over 3. And then remember, when you're dividing fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. So it's the square root of 3 plus 3 over 3 times 3 over 3 minus the square root of 3. So notice notice you can cross out there and you get the square root of 3 plus 3, and then 3 minus the square root of 3, and that is your final answer. The next thing, find the exact value of, so basically this is where you work backwards. So you notice if it looks like this, then the two angles you're adding together are 10 and 35. And since this is positive, and remember the top part's always the same sign, so you know it was tangent 10 plus 35. So basically it's asking you to find the tangent of 45, and the tangent of 45, remember, is 1. The next part, using these to verify an identity. Well, here it says tangent of x plus pi. So remember, you go tangent x plus tangent pi over 1 minus, because remember the sign is different, tangent x times tangent pi. So then tangent x, well, we can't find that, but tangent pi, the tangent of pi, remember, if you don't know, don't have the chart, pi is right here. Remember, this is -1, 0. So remember, the tangent of pi is 0, because y over x, 0 over -1. So then you have 1 minus tangent x times 0. So basically, you have tangent x over 1, which is tangent x. The next question, it says, suppose the sine of x is 4/5 for an angle in quadrant 2. So here's one where you're going to have to draw some pictures. So in quadrant 2, x, the sign is 4/5. So that means if we find the missing side by doing the Pythagorean theorem, this would be 3. And since it's in the second quadrant, x is negative, so it's actually -3. And then it says the next angle, y, is in quadrant 1, and the sign is 1/2. So draw another. Here's y. The sign is 1/2. That means when you do the Pythagorean theorem, you'll get the square root of 3 for x, and they're all positive. So now it says it wants you to find sine of x plus y. Well, remember, sine of x plus y is sine x cosine y plus cosine x sine y. Going back to the last chapter. Well, sine of x, notice x is over here, so you go opposite over adjacent, that's 4/5. Cosine y is the square root of 3 over 2 because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine x, adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's -3/5. Sine y is 1/2. So notice I have 4 square root 3 over 10 plus -3 over 10. So basically it becomes 4 square root 3 minus 3 over 10. The next one, cosine x plus y, so you're going to have cosine x cosine y minus sine x sine y. And remember, cosine x we found was -3/5. Cosine y is square root of 3 over 2. Sine x, remember, was 4/5 from the last problem. And sine y is 1/2. So all these values, I just used the same ones from the last problem. -3 times the square root of 3 is -3 square root of 3 over 10. Because 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. So here we have -3 square root 3 minus 4 all over 10. Last but not least, the tangent of x plus y. So part C. Remember, tangent, it's tangent x plus tangent y. And then on the bottom is 1 minus tangent x tangent y. So now here, the tangent of x, we'll notice we have opposite over adjacent. So it's 4 over -3. Whereas the tangent of y, the angle y, is 1 over the square root of 3, which is the square root of 3 over 3. So you have 4 over -3 plus the square root of 3 over 3. Then you have 1 minus 4 over -3 times square root of 3 over 3. On the top here, now if the fraction's negative, you can make either the top or the bottom negative. So let's, just for the sake of making this easier, let's make the top part negative so that we have a common denominator. So we have -4 plus the square root of 3 over 3. And then here we have 1 minus 4 square root 3 over -9. So we can simplify this. So here's where you're going to have to be good at working with square roots and simplifying. I'll just bring this over here. 1 minus 4 square root 3 over -9. We can change this to a plus and plus. So get a common denominator, which is 9 So you have 9 plus 4 square root 3 over 9. And then remember, because you are dividing fractions, you can multiply by the reciprocal. So you have negative 4 plus the square root of 3 over 3 times 9 times 9 plus 4 square root of 3. So that becomes a 1 and a 3. So when you distribute, you have negative 12 plus 3 square root 3 over 9 plus 4 square root 3. Now, remember, you can get rid of square roots on the bottom by rationalizing the denominator by multiplying by the conjugate. So this, you can actually multiply by 9 minus 4 square root 3, top and bottom. And when you do that, remember, conjugates you multiply first and last. So 9 times 9 is 81. 4 times the square root of 3 times 4 square root of 3, that's 16 times 3, that's 48. So 81 minus 48 would give you 33. Then when you FOIL here, you get negative 108, because negative 12 times 9, plus 27 square roots of 3, and then here plus 48 square roots of 3, and then 3 square root 3 times 4 square root 3, that's negative 12 times 3, which is negative 36. So basically, when you combine these, 27 and 48, you get 75 square roots of 3, and negative 108 minus 36 gives you negative 144. And then you look to see, do all three of these terms have a common factor? And the answer is yes. You can divide each one by 3. 3 goes into 144. Negative 46. 3 goes into 75 25 times. And 3 goes into 33 11 times. And this would be your final answer. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, short but to the point. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in class, and we'll go over it in detail. Have a good evening.